It is the Fulhamish quick take here at Craft Beer Co. after Fulham's 3-1 victory over Brighton. What is it about playing the Seagulls in the Premier League? We don't ever play that well. We always seem to get a result. Joined here in the freezing cold outside with Dan. Hello.
Hiya, Sammy.
Happy?
Very, very. Do you know, just one of those... I was saying to you, I was walking to the ground earlier and it was just like belting it down with rain. I was just really excited to be at the cottage, and I had a little thought to myself, and I thought, is there anywhere else I'd rather be than here right now? And there was only one place, and that was home, but a close second was Craven Cottage, and it was a really good evening.
I can think of a few better places than Southwest London in the freezing rain, but still, Craven Cottage is a magic place, as is Craft Beer Co., a beautiful family-run pub where you can get a beautiful selection of locally sourced beers and ales. Dan, what are you drinking?
I've got a Flensburger Pilsner. Delightful. It's my go-to here.
Rating out of 10?
9. It's a really nice Pilsner. Although we were just slightly gutted about the stout not being on, but otherwise happy with the Pilsner.
Yeah, if you're going to the Arsenal game, either pre or post match, make sure you check out Craft Beer Co. Let's get into the game, Dan. Quite a lot of changes before the match from Marco. You had Rodrigo Muniz back in. You had Harry Wilson getting a start. What did you make of the lineup? I felt like it was a strong start from us. Obviously, helps when you go 1-0 up so early on. Although maybe a bit more down to Brighton's mishaps in defence rather than our good attacking. But we did put them under good pressure.
We did. I don't think I was surprised by the lineup. I think there was murmurings that Muniz might get his chance tonight, because I don't think Raul's played badly, but he's not been in the goals, and 3 games in a week is a lot, so rotating him out makes sense. Iwobi playing in that sort of 8 role, given our suspensions, our injuries, plus the whole Pereira situation, I think felt like the only option. And then it was really nice to see that meant Harry Wilson could sort of shift into this side. And I do think the first goal is smart, and I think it's something we did throughout the game, which was we didn't always press Brighton, because I think that's foolish. And I think if you try and press them too hard, their passages play are so lovely and they work the ball so brilliantly that I think you expose yourself. So what we were smart, I thought we sat well and knew when to spring. And it happened a few times throughout the game where we just put them under pressure at the right times. It wasn't foolhardy, it wasn't constant. We were just like very specific with when we triggered that press. And the first goal is, it's a terrible pass out from the keeper. And that's 2 or 3 goals this game week in the Premier League where a keeper's just rolled it straight out to an opposition player. But it's great sensing of danger from Iwobi. And do you know what? It's a decent finish, because he's actually, when you watch it back, there's not a massive gap for him to put it in. Because he's got Verbruggen going one way and he's got the defender sliding across the other. He picks the perfect place to roll it in the middle.
Yeah, it was one of those that I was kind of like, okay, this is a good chance, but you've got something to do here. It wasn't quite, you saw the one that Chelsea scored last night, where it was absolutely just like, score. Alex Iwobi had a few things to do there, and he was absolutely brilliant. I felt like in the rest of the first half, we definitely kind of ceded control of the match to Brighton. It was quite a tough watch at times, quite a nerve-wracking watch. Bernd Leno pulled off a couple of astonishing saves. The one from Adingra is genuinely like, how did you do that? There was a lot of pinball in the box. I went into half-time, happy to be 1-0 up, but definitely concerned about our performance. But, just talking to you beforehand, you seem to be a bit more pragmatic that whilst it obviously wasn't exactly what Fulham were intending, you seem to think maybe we're in a bit more control of our destiny.
Yeah, I felt a little bit more calm at half-time. I was still nervous, don't get me wrong, and there were hairy moments, but it felt very intentional the way we played. This was a game, and often Fulham will try and wrestle control of a game, and we'll quite frequently have more possession and we'll assert our authority on teams. But in this game, to me, it felt very intentional that we're like, no, you have the ball, and we'll make it really difficult to pick gaps in our defence. And then when we get the ball, and I thought we did it really well in the first 25 minutes, and it sort of fell away in the last 20 minutes of the first half. When we got the ball, we were great going forward. It was quick football, and it was really neat and crisp. And I think we carved out some good opportunities in that first 25 minutes. I was a little bit concerned after what came after that, because it started to feel a bit more one-directional. It felt like they were battering down the door, and every time we got the ball, we didn't have many options, so we just went long to Rodrigo Muniz, who dealt with a load of them brilliantly. And I think he is a little bit of an unsung hero tonight because he was so key to dragging us upfield, because Brighton pressed us high and we couldn't play out, and so we had to rely on that long ball to Muniz, and he bullied Dunk a few times in both halves, and I think that's an admirable performance as a striker where you're not going to get many chances, but you just keep going for the sort of the good of the team. I thought it was very impressive.
Yeah, well, I mean, and interestingly with Muniz, because I remember the game that we played against Brighton earlier this year, he bullied Lewis Dunk in that game a little bit as well, and he also did quite well in the Amex in the reverse fixture last year. So maybe it just seems to be an opposition where Rodrigo Muniz does get a little bit of joy, and we haven't seen that too much in the last few games. It felt like maybe he wasn't quite finding those passes to Wilson and to Nelson in the first half, and the ball just kept coming back and back and back at us. Just a word on Bert Leno, because I just feel like he deserves some real praise, because particularly the one on Adingra, I don't know how much he knew about it, but he just made himself big.
Yeah, I think that's just experienced goalkeeping, isn't it? He it's tough as a keeper when a ball flashes across the box like that, because you've got to guard your near post, and then you're trying to make up ground. And I think what makes it even harder is then the ball comes back towards him, so he's almost going back on himself, and it's just instinctive, experienced keeping. We are blessed, and I think he does it every now and then across the 3 seasons he's been here, where I think there's a game where you think, oh, is maybe Leno losing his touch a little bit, his age catching up with him, and then the next game he'll come out and pull off something like that. And then I also thought with his feet he was really good, because we were going long so often. He was pumping balls, but very, very accurately and into the right spaces for Muniz to attack them. They weren't aimless, they were very intentional. And it was such a composed performance, and he is so crucial to this team. I think we've had the conversation about, who is Fulham's least replaceable player. It's Bernd Leno. And that's partially because of what the alternative is, but it also is just based on how great he is. He is our least replaceable.
Well, also, I think you see with the spate of goalkeeper mistakes this week in the Premier League, and fortunately Bernd Leno hasn't really had that, I think, for Fulham in his whole time here, and certainly not recently. But yeah, I mean, it's an astonishing save to keep us in the game. Sadly, though, Brighton did get their equaliser. I'm a believer. Scored what was a wonderful goal, although can Fulham stop conceding in the period after half-time? Like, what is it about... What does Marco do in these half-time team talks? I don't know. Is there a bit of tranquilizer in the water? Like, what is it? Do we just fall asleep for the first 15 minutes?
Do you know what I think makes it weirder is that both at the weekend against Spurs and tonight, that was our best spell up until that point in the game, was those 10 minutes after half-time. And in both games, we've looked like creating a chance, haven't quite put it away, and then the opposition just nick one. And I thought this was a very, very good goal, like all round, just so slick, and it's a very good finish. When he hit it, I didn't think it was going in, because it was like a little bit of like a daisy cutter, but I think just with the weather conditions, it's just skipped on. It's a very good finish. But if we could stop getting on top of teams and then conceding, because it's really frustrating, and we put ourselves on the back foot probably unnecessarily, and a point where we should be going 2-0 up to go to 1-1 it's frustrating.
Yeah, well, also, especially, I felt like we weathered the storm in the first half, and then it's like, all right, well, that was all for nothing. However, weirdly, it actually seemed to give Fulham some momentum back in this match. First of all, before we get on to the goal, we'll come on to Andreas Pereira, who gets substituted on. Not every fan in the Hammersmith end, but there was a sizable amount of fans in the Hammersmith end that booed him as he warmed up down the touchline, and then he definitely got quite a serious boo as he came on the pitch in the second half. Look, I'm not trying to be here, the holier than thou, do what you want, etc. But I really hate it. I really just don't see what we gain from doing that to our own player. And look, I mean, I don't like the way that he's behaved, and that he seems to have died on a hill for a move to Marseille that I can't quite fathom. It is a bit weird, but it's our player. He's coming on the pitch. Surely just encouragement at this point is more helpful than booing.
Yeah, I completely agree, and I echo what you said. I'm not going to sit here and tell people how to support their football club. You know, we all support our team in different ways, and that's up to an individual. But I would never, in that situation, boo one of our players. You know, the second, if that move to Marseille does happen and by some miracle we play Marseille, volley abuse, fine. But at this point in time, he's our player. It's 1-1 in a really big game. Look, we're 6th in the league now. Like, this was huge. To boo him when he's coming on to try and change things, and it was also exactly the right substitution. We needed someone in the middle then. Smith Rowe, these aren't the sort of games for him, I don't think, in the sense where when Fulham don't have a lot of the ball and he's having to put a lot of effort in out of possession, I think sometimes he just sort of drifts into obscurity. You don't see him very much. Pereira was the right choice, and so I don't get why you would boo in that situation, because he's coming on to try and win us that game, and he puts the cross in, he puts the corner in that puts us 2-1 up. Like, he came on, and I think I've been a critic of Pereira's, but I think massive credit to just block that out. He'd have heard it, blocked it out, puts in a brilliant corner from which we score from, and also does his usual of just putting in a massive shift, running about the pitch, getting stuck in, and still being with his teammates. You know, I think some players in that situation, when Fulham score, they might not care a huge amount, because they're thinking, well, who am I doing this for? Yeah. But, you know, he's right amongst it, and he blocked it out, and so I think he deserves a lot of credit for that.
Yeah, there was a small moment, but there was definitely a moment when he was warming up, and I think he was annoyed by something that someone said in the Riverside stand towards him. Hard to know, and obviously maybe he just picked out a family member for all I know, but he definitely seemed agitated by something. And yeah, I don't see what the advantage is to Fulham. I don't think it benefits us. Yeah. And as much as, yes, he's disrespected Fulham, definitely, I just think in that moment it's not for the greater good, because we all want Fulham to win football matches. Anyway, his corner, Matt O'Reilly.
Chances.
I mean,
what are the chances?
We got
Parker masterclass.
Yeah,
it's a genius.
Scott was right all along. No, I mean, we obviously wish no ill against Matt O'Reilly. There are some former players that we'd be delighted to watch score an own goal at the Hammersmith end. Matt O'Reilly isn't one of them. No. Just quite funny.
It was, and it was just that moment, like, because I don't know if it was the same for you, but I had no idea what had happened. I saw the corner come in, like 4 heads jump for the same ball, and the ball just drop in the far post. And Muniz, bless him, I love that he's just decided, I'm going to claim this goal. Yeah. He was like, I'm going to do my celebrations, we're going to act as if it was mine. And then the bloke next to me just nudged me about 2 minutes later, being like, it's gone down as a Matt O'Reilly own goal. And just like mass hilarity then ensued. It's just like, football's weird like that, isn't it? Like, yeah, as you say, he's one of those players that you look at and you think, well, we treated him badly, and it would be quite nice if we still had him, because I thought he played well. Oh, yeah. I thought he played very well. He's a very good footballer. But football's funny, isn't it?
I just couldn't believe. I actually had no idea it was Matt O'Reilly until full time, and then I saw a video that's going around of just him looking absolutely dejected with the fact it's gone in off him, and you just gotta wonder what's your luck at this point. Like, this is the club that, honestly, that nearly killed his professional career, and like, Fulham should have great shame in the fact that we did not look after Matt O'Reilly and see the potential there, and now he's, you know, a starting midfielder for a great Premier League team. Like, it's fully on us. Yep. But yeah, football is weird. I'm quite glad, actually, that wasn't the winning goal, that Fulham actually did manage to kind of score one of our own, and it's brilliant from Alex Iwobi. I mean, I don't think there's debate as to the fact that he was the man of the match. Brilliantly taken, arrowed into the bottom corner. It's not actually the most powerful shot, but it's just so accurate.
Yeah, and again, he's done this at least twice now this season. He played in 3 different positions today. Yeah. I get so excited when I think about Alex Iwobi. I love him so much. Like, to play in the 8, where I think actually when he first joined, maybe some people, I thought that might be where he slotted in general. And I was a bit hesitant coming in today. I was like, we look a bit exposed, but he was brilliant. You know, he never shirked his defensive duties. He fit in the shape. He played his role. Moves out to the right. We all know he's good out there. Moves out to the left, and picks up.
He even did a small role in the 10.
Yeah, it's just
plays everywhere.
What a weapon to have, and like a manager's dream. Like, you know, when you're trying to work out what change you need to make to change the game, and there's always a a consequence of a change that you make. You think, if you bring someone on somewhere, it leaves a hole somewhere else, and you can, by just being able to plug that with Alex Iwobi whenever you want to, is incredible. Like, Marco loves him. He must love him.
He's like the T-shape in a game of Tetris.
Yeah,
Just like...
the OG, the key man, the one that you want to see coming down. You're like, yes.
No, a straight line. You just know, this is it. This can fit in loads of places. I can put it horizontal. I can put it vertical. It just goes everywhere. Everywhere I need it. It's just perfect. Alex Iwobi, player of the match, undoubtedly. Dan, Fulham are up to 6th. For all it matters in this kind of wild Premier League table, honestly, like there's probably a points difference between them, like 6th and 12th. I haven't checked the league table, but still, this is nice. This is a sign that actually Fulham are having a really good season. I mean, the mad fact is that we could be so much higher than 6th. But finally, I thought today that after a season where it feels like the constant theme is Fulham played well, didn't get the result, actually today, we weren't at our best. We had good moments, but we actually got the result. And I think, it's lovely to go to Spurs and to play against all these big teams and play brilliantly, but sadly come up short. City away and all of that. It's nice today that certainly wasn't Fulham on top for the whole game. That's definitely can't be argued. But actually, 3 points. See you later. Up to 6th. Happy days.
Yeah, it's that feeling when you walk away from the ground. And we've had the inverse of this. When you walk away from the game, you're like, how have we not won that? And it feels like teams so regularly get to walk away from matches with Fulham being like, oh, Fulham are good. We still won, but Fulham are good. Yeah. But so it's nice to walk away from a game and be like, Brighton are a good side. They play very good football. They have a very good manager, and we are able to walk away and say we just grafted. We executed a game plan and we toughed it out. And we got lucky here and there, but you come away with 3 points. And I think the important thing for me is that after that Wolves game, you're looking at December with fear. Like, this December looked horrid. And what I think these 2 results have done, a point against Spurs and 3 against Brighton, is it just relieves pressure ahead of Arsenal and Liverpool. Yeah. We know that we shouldn't refer to them as free hits because Fulham have started to get good at producing results against these teams, but they're no longer like, oh God, we haven't won in 4. We've lost every game in 4. Like, it's nice to go into that Arsenal game being like, this is a bonus now. Yeah. And I think it just loosens the shackles a little bit and gives us a bit of freedom. So I think that's a real positive. And if I can add one last note, Josh King.
Yes.
Josh King. What a little cameo. He looked small. How small did he look when he came on that pitch? He looked tiny. But there were 2 things I liked about it. One, I thought he got stuck in. He looked very composed in possession, and he didn't look scared or nervous. When he got the ball, he didn't panic. He didn't try and pass it first time and get rid of it. He was composed with it, and he's involved in that 3rd goal. Yeah. He's down in the corner there when it eventually gets to Robinson, who feeds it into Iwobi for that beautiful turn and finish. But the other thing I loved was he came on after we'd scored the 2nd, and Brighton were just about to take their kick-off. And he got to the centre circle, and Anthony Robinson's run up from the left-back area as our captain on the day. He's put his arm around him, and he said a couple of words in his ear and patted him on the back and gone back. And I thought that's lovely. But then, during the game, Raul sort of coached him through it out of possession, and it was just such a lovely thing to see, the sort of togetherness in this squad. Every time Brighton had the ball, Raul was just pointing. He was right. He had 2 thoughts at all times: where am I going, and where should I tell Josh King to go? And I think that's so lovely, to take a player under your wing like that and be like, this is his first ever Premier League game. It's 2-1. It's not lobbing a player on at 3 or 4-0 and you give them a debut and it's easy. This was a player thrown on in a tight situation, and Mark had the confidence in him to do that, and the players really pulled him through it as well, and I thought he performed commendably. I think that's a really composed Premier League debut.
Yeah, I saw, I think Sander Berger also, just literally as he got put on the pitch, giving him quite a long chat about where to go and what to do. And look, we talked about, it is kind of serendipity a little bit. We talk about Matt O'Reilly, a young player that wasn't treated right, a young player that should have become a star for Fulham, And maybe, well, no, not maybe, definitely, because we have a good manager that is bringing through young players at the right pace at the right time, hopefully Josh King can go on and have a great career, generally, but ideally, at least for a bit, for Fulham, which would be nice. I mean, look, Dan, happy days, as you say. A win today takes a little bit of the edge off Sunday, and then the following Liverpool game up to 6, so we can enjoy it. Have a great rest of the evening, mate.
Thank you very much, Sammy.
Let us know what you thought of the match in the comments, and if you haven't subscribed to the channel already, hit subscribe. Like the Whites.